Welcome to In These Strange Times, a series featuring Tulsans in conversation about the individual and collective changes we're all experiencing in this year 2020 and beyond. I'm your host, Alexander Tamahn, and this episode is called Plugged In. Well, welcome to the Matrix. I'm Alex, and I'm excited to get to know each of you. So why don't we just kind of go around and introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Why don't you start us off, Madison?
I'm Madison, and I'm currently a student at Oral Roberts University. I'm studying criminal justice and psychology, and I'm 20. And I was born in California, but I've lived here in Sand Springs, Tulsa my whole life.
I'm Asha. I am an artist here, and I'm becoming an artist in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm so happy to be here, honestly.
I'm Jack. Tulsa born and raised, went to school at the University of Tulsa, spent about 3 years in local government in the mayor's office, and then transitioned to Tulsa Remote, focusing on just making the city as best as it can and helping people find their new home in Tulsa.
Where do each of you spend the most of your time? Whether that's as a guilty pleasure, a function of maybe some of your work, or life experience. But where can we find you? I personally am all about the gram. That's where all roads lead to, whether I want them to or not.
Yeah, it's a love-hate with the gram.
It is kind of an addiction to be. The gram is the place for me too as well. I used to really like Snapchat. I used to really, because I was like, oh, a whole day, 24 hours just in the life of me. I can post whatever I want, however long.
And it goes away.
It goes away.
Yeah.
Until they had screen recording.
See?
And I was like, oh, hold up.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Instagram took over the Snapchat function with stories?
Yeah.
In a way, yeah, absolutely, because that's
completely
what I post my stories on now. If I'm doing anything, I'm like, Instagram, let me get those filters. And I think that they kind of did a little bit of a better job on the filters than Snapchat nowadays too as well. So
That's true. Yeah. True. What about you, Madison?
Instagram for sure.
Yeah.
It can be really healthy, but then at times it can be pretty negative.
Yeah.
Definitely depends on my mood.
Yeah.
I kind of use everything. So Instagram is what I started out on in high school and built kind of a following. And then deleted it completely. And it was just it became this toxic space where I had to look internally and say, this isn't good for me right now. And so I completely deleted everything, lost all my followers, regretted it a little bit, and then created a new Instagram, so at @fauxfish, faux_fish, follow me.
Story.
I'm definitely addicted to email. After seeing The Social Dilemma, I am addicted to my email. And then I'm getting more into LinkedIn because it's a more professional space and people are just, they think a little bit more before they post and comment. So
Definitely.
it's less toxic on LinkedIn, I think.
Yeah.
I feel you. I remember when I was in more of a corporate space where I was trying to be about LinkedIn, working in adolescent addictions counseling. Of course you want to put your resume and your credentials and stuff like that out there, but that also wasn't where I was focusing on developing my persona, right?
Yeah.
That was at the time probably more Facebook. Really only on there at this point because I have family and friends I haven't seen.
Right.
That that's our really only
It's
way
really
to,
just a connection at this point. It's just to keep in touch with those that aren't near or whatever it may be.
From a generational standpoint.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So many generations on Facebook.
Yes.
Or Instagram, no.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's
right.
as far as some generations will really engage, right, with social media.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. With either extreme consequence or none whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is scary, right?
Yeah.
Especially, well, I don't want to jump ahead, but considering I don't even know what all shit I have put out on social media years and years ago.
Yeah, we were,
And the fact that that could at any moment really just
resurface.
Yeah. And I have to speak to some shit that I thought I knew that I clearly didn't, years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
But as it pertains to information though, where do you all get your information from?
That's
NPR podcasts, definitely. I'm a big podcast person.
Okay.
Definitely. I try to stay away from news sources because sometimes it gets a little negative.
Yeah.
And it gets me into spiral thinking. But NPR and podcasts for sure.
Right on. Same, like very relatable content. What about you, Asha?
I'm gonna have to unprofessionally say Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, hey,
Twitter can be a great place.
Yes,
Yeah.
and every day it's like, you know, you're getting what happened right off the bat.
In the
know?
moment, yeah.
Yes.
At the city, you know, there's tons of open meetings. Anyone can go to it, but people rarely ever do. But there's a select few that actually go to the open meetings. They, you know, listen to the entire press conference. And those are the people that I look for information from because I know that they have the whole picture. I do check CNN, I check MSNBC, I check Fox News. I think the most information I can get, the better I can draw my own picture instead of relying on a single source and just taking their ideas.
That's like a really great point when we're inundated with way more information than we like need, want, or ask for.
Right.
And then a lot of like misinformation that is very intentionally skewed to like get fear-based reactions out of us or what have you.
Can't really tell what is real, what's not real until you go straight to the source and do your own research.
And you're an artist, right? So like,
I am.
How does that work, right? Because when we think of like unplugging and kind of stepping away from the work, it's easier to do when your work isn't necessarily. I mean, social media like it's a full-fledged career at this point.
Truly. For me, like we all discussed, Instagram is where I'm mostly putting my stuff out, but I don't know. I think that YouTube is definitely the route for artists to get discovered, or you know what I mean, anything like that. But also Twitter, because like I said, anybody, famous or not, could just click on your video and just be like, whoa. That's
really interesting that you pointed out that like discovery. And like I think that's with social media what we're aiming for is like we all know our importance and we know our significance and we know our talents and we're just waiting to get discovered. And like I feel like that's what I'm aiming for on Instagram and LinkedIn. Like either I'm getting discovered for a job or I'm getting discovered because of my talents or it is. I mean, it is a way to just be like, I'm here and this is what I do.
So we are now conditioning ourselves, and especially like these younger generations, to vie for that attention and that influencer like identity and platform without necessarily like a full-fledged like platform. Right. So it's not about like I'm saying something important. It's like I'm just saying something. Right. And so like our attention spans are already like shortening. So it becomes that much more important and pressing to like gain followers and gain like the attention, right? And less focus, as I've kind of seen and even like read about here recently, is on like putting out content that's bettering our like society or informing things and not just kind of exacerbating the thing.
It's like what can I put out there that's the most shareable and clickable and can get me the most attention versus like what can I put out there that's going to promote the most good?
Do y'all think that there's like a true space for like humanity like in social media? Like for your whole authentic self to like be all within that?
That's a really good question, yo. That's so good.
I mean, I definitely think there's a space for humanity in social media. There are really great things that come out of it, whether it's reconnecting with an old friend or relative or finding a new career opportunity. I think there's a lot of good that can come out of it, and I think that's what the intentions were when it was developed.
I definitely think that like social media, it like just takes away from showing really who we really are in our everyday lives. Because it's just moments that we all want to share and all try to connect with, and it's validation in yourself. It's I have 20 likes on this picture, like I feel important, or you know I don't, or whatever. It does take away from the realness of just life in general, you know.
That's real shit.
And I think it also creates a lot of cognitive dissonance. I know for me, growing up kind of in that age, and also being like in middle school when it was kind of like influencers, it really just made me realize like I didn't even get this until 2 years ago, that like my worth, like my actual worth, is like not in how everyone views me. It's like how I view myself.
Yeah.
And that was really hard, especially middle school. Like, oh, that's rough.
And trash for everybody.
Yeah, and what everyone's saying is like that's not everyone's authentic self. But when in your mind, it's like, wow, everyone's so cool, but like no one's experiencing what I am. But then you realize like that's what everyone's dealing with.
Yeah. Okay, Madison, so you brought up something that I wanted to come back to in terms of like deciding like, hey, this isn't the space that I want to allow my mind to travel.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to avert my attention from this. Can you kind of speak a little bit more to that? And I'd love to hear that from all of you, because we do kind of control our realities like in this world where we can curate our experience through social media.
Yeah.
Right?
And with that, I know I definitely felt like there's me on social media, and then there's a separate me that's like real. And so with that, it's like, when do I present this and when do I present this? And it's kind of like the debate that I mean, I even did this in like a class, like at TCC, that I had a debate, like, is social media bad or good? And so that, if you think about it, like, that's such like a negative way of approaching that. It's like, it's not bad or good. Yeah. It's like, we need to start thinking of it in a healthier way.
Yeah, it's bad and good.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because things are more complicated than that.
Yeah.
And I know, like, what I said about cognitive dissonance is that I felt like, gee, I wish I felt like this Madison, like, on Instagram, like, because I sure don't. But once you realize that, like, I know from this past year, I've started like posting things on my story that I never would have posted, just like goofy things and like stupid things, but it's made me feel so much better. And it made me feel like not only am I being like more authentic towards everyone, but I'm like being actually real with myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
For me, like as an artist, you know, it's like I have to, I mean, a lot of people that are in the creative arts or I mean, everybody, I think, has their own, it's like a, I don't want to say filter, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like you tailor your, it's
we all have
laid
a
out.
and a brand at this point.
Yes, that you have to like continuously build and keep that image and but stay as true to yourself as possible. So it's just kind of like what you do with it. Energy is everything, and it's really like, what do you need as a human being, as your own person, to protect yours, but also not be so standoffish to push people away, you know what I mean? Obviously, social media is a way for people to get into little bits of your life. That is the little bits of energy that you are able to give without really giving it one-on-one, you know?
So I'm a full-time artist, right? And so my ecosystem, just like any other ecosystem, has been colonized, right? And so there are systemic factors that other artists that have experiences like my own, we haven't had the same opportunities, historically speaking, right? So then enter social media. Now I can go directly to my audiences. I can go directly to gallerists and curators, and now there's like this insane like capacity to scale ideas and like creative collaboration, which is a great thing. But at the same time, like as an artist, I'm also like, damn, am I putting out enough content or the right content, or am I doing things and timing them in such a way that like the algorithms will support this move?
I want to know, like, for you and what you're wanting to do in the world, how has you know, quarantine, what have you guys, you know what I mean, how's that helped you or hindered you, and what you're progressing towards?
For me, myself, like, my life had a major transition, so I resigned from the mayor's office the day of the Trump rally, and tweeted my resignation letter on Twitter, posted it on Facebook,
and it went
and kind of blew up. I mean, my intentions for that were for me to tell my own story, because being in the mayor's office, I know very much how you can control a narrative and to make things look a certain way, and I wanted to be in control of my own narrative, and I feel like I did that, and I did it pretty well.
Yeah, you did.
I was
you did. Retweet.
And I mean, the tweet of my resignation letter got about 10,000 retweets and 6 million impressions. So it very much went viral. I was trending on Twitter, which was crazy. But all that to be said, like, not much really came out of it. I mean, yeah, I got some attention, did some interviews, and people talked about it, but in reality, like, that wasn't what got me a position, a new career, or it didn't help me financially, you know, when I was unemployed and had to take a ride to the hospital without insurance. Like,
Sure.
so social media, it helped me tell my story, it helped me share my narrative, but that's about it. It didn't really provide anything for myself of value. Communicating. It's like
Yeah.
a lost
Actually
art.
communicating.
Like,
Yes, it is.
like, let's
Exactly.
talk.
Yeah.
Which is what we're doing now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Let's talk about how that, and, you know, has been affected by social media.
Right,
Yeah.
right, because you don't have to listen. You can say some slick shit and
And turn off your
we
phone
went
and just
together.
throw it in a lake.
Don't have to see your stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also it's just you're hiding behind the screen. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
can say whatever I want to say, yo.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know. I just think it's just not. You can't hear tone in it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't nothing. You can't feel passion. I just emojis help, but it's not quite
Emojis
there.
help.
And it's super
You know?
ironic
Yeah.
too. I feel like all
Right.
my emojis are so ironic.
Yeah.
I've always been like, I've always avoided conflict on social media, and sometimes I feel like it's not authentic because I avoid it so much, but like, I try to keep my social media a happy place because I know there's so many places that aren't happy.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's
That's like my little help to humanity is
Yeah.
like not reposting that trash article and just, I don't know, posting a picture of a puppy.
Yeah.
It makes
Thank
a
you for your
difference in a
service.
lot of people.
That shit matters.
But unfortunately, when people look at your page and stuff like that, and you're posting things at a time like this, they automatically are pointing fingers like you don't
Yeah.
care.
I've always kind of been like posting my opinions about news and I don't know, paradigms on my Instagram, but more of like in a filtered way where I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
I mean, is that fair to look at someone's social media to see what they're like as a person?
Kind of.
She was shaking her head. You said kind of.
way.
Okay, but see, that's the thing, because we're humans, right?
Yeah.
And so part of, I think, a flaw in thinking is that we can effectively and sustainably compartmentalize ourselves to enter into a space, right? So in the corporate space, emotional competency can get you in HR and right on out the door, right? And so, or a lack thereof, right? But that being said, we can't remove ourselves from the emotional experience that we have. So if that doesn't happen outside of the office, why are we expected to turn that off in a boardroom when very important decisions that are affecting an entire company or a group of people are, you know, kind of on the line?
Be prepared to get judged
Yeah.
from your social media for sure.
Yeah. Can I be judged for things I'm not putting out there? Definitely yes.
Yeah.
What do you stand for?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
are you standing for at this time? Stand for something and show it, push through it. Like be active. I think that this is crazy that like I felt more motivated to get things done because of quarantine.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to do.
So when you think about how these algorithms are curating our experience and the information that like we're taking in, I get concerned for people that don't view certain things the way that I view them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I also develop a little bit more empathy because I heard it said that like we're all just kind of existing in a single shard of a very fragmented reality, right? So when I have conversations with people, whether it's in the comment section or in person, and I'm like, how do you even believe this? I do have to kind of take a step back and interrogate my own experience and then kind of empathize with like, well, you know, they may only be surrounding themselves with this information, which is valid to them.
Yeah.
Just like the information I surround myself with is
Right.
valid to me, regardless of how much fact checking I do. I just kind of trust it. Like I don't consider NPR like as being a threat somehow to like
Yeah.
my knowledge base. You know.
Right.
I don't know. How do you guys all feel about that?
You touched on like the algorithm and how an algorithm can decide what we see and what we don't see. And that's another way of saying a bias.
Yeah.
Like, social media and the internet in a lot of ways took away the biases and allowed us to see things that we haven't seen before. But now we're introducing a bias back into the Internet of Things, which can be good and scary. Like, if the purpose of social media is for entertainment, then that's a good thing, because I see more pictures of puppies and airplanes. If our use for social media is to learn and develop, then that could be a bad thing, because now all of a sudden this algorithm is the Facebook bias or the Instagram bias is determining what we actually see.
With this generation, right, we are less as adults, as educators, as parents, guardians, mentors, what have you, like, we're not necessarily the first line of information, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because we do want to equip our young people with like the capacity to find the information for themselves.
Right. Yeah.
But in this weird and these strange times,
Unprecedented.
it's super unprecedented, and it's like, well, I may be like the third person that my little sister asks about something that like I would prefer I was a little higher up on, you know what I mean? In terms of just her safety and protection. And, you know, teachers are like having to deal with students who are coming into class saying like the Holocaust didn't really happen.
Yeah.
But it's in part because of the rabbit holes that they're able to access on YouTube and wherever else.
Right.
You know what I mean? To just inundate themselves with information that who knows where it's coming from.
I don't know how you say that.
I was told this like growing up, and I didn't believe it in the time, but one of the best things that you get out of an education is learning how to learn. And at the time, I didn't really believe it or recognize how significant that was. But now I'm beginning to realize, like, in school, in English classes that I hated, I had to find sources and source my content and what I was saying and prove it. And those skills are now becoming super important, and I'm relying on those skills because all of a sudden I can think for myself and make my own decisions versus just trusting something that I see.
There's just so much information though out there
Yeah.
that it is kind of like what is real, what is not, and it, like you said, it's what they grew up learning, but it's what you resonate with. You know what I mean? And now it's like, yo, what do you resonate with? And then you have to make a stand for it. So I think that this is like some crazy times, man. Everything is just literally 2020 vision. It's coming to light, baby. Like, what was in the dark is coming up.
That's another thing with social media. It's on us. It's like our reality is just how our reality is just completely constructed on our experiences, and so when we feel like the spotlight's all on us, we don't realize like that all of the people on Instagram are also feeling that way. And so no one's really gonna take what you're saying as important and valid as you do. They're gonna make their assumptions about you, but they're not gonna think about it as much as you do.
Right.
So how do you like unplug? And I mean, do you even know like how much time you maybe spend on the apps and
I don't even
engaging in things?
Part of me wants to look at my phone because it'll tell me how much time I've spent, like screen time. I don't know if I want to do that.
I don't know if I want to do it either.
It seems to kind of creep in. Like, I deleted Instagram and Instagram was gone. And then it just has kind of crept back in.
With Reels and everything.
And how I check myself is like less, I don't know. How I check myself is less little steps, baby steps. I tend to take big steps. Like, I delete Instagram or I delete Facebook. That's, I don't think, the healthiest way to do it, because then there's a void and you feel like you have to replace that void somehow. And now I'm back on Instagram.
Right. I did this thing where I would just log out, and because I like I said, have a force of habit of just clicking. And then I would see, I gotta log in. Okay, I'm not supposed to be on this. And then I did that for like 2 weeks, and that made me feel a lot more at peace. It's definitely an addiction, and it's tough. It's tough to find that balance,
Me unplugging is like taking away the bad mindfulness from social media, so I might still be on it. But I mean, I've heard so many comments over my life that's like, why do you post so much? Or why? Because I love like Instagram. Like I think it's so fun. And I'll like see like a picture of a bird and I'm like, okay.
And then fun. And that's okay too. Like that's good.
And that's like my unplugging is like take away the bad like energy and the thoughts that I have from like, I shouldn't be posting this much. But as long as I really realize like, it doesn't matter. Like this is bringing me joy. And as long as I'm doing that, I feel like I am unplugged, even though I'm still kind of on social media. If that makes sense.
No, that does. I get that.
That's really interesting. Like, for me, I think like I unplug and plug into TikTok because I don't post any content. I'm not trying to be anyone on that. I'm like strictly exploring content. And it can be, 11 o'clock at night. I finally am like, okay, I'm done. I'm getting on TikTok, and then I explore, and it makes me really happy. And maybe that's how we check ourselves, is by being intentional about what we're putting into the algorithm. Like if I'm intentional about the posts that I like and watch and even give my bandwidth to, that can develop that algorithm to be a little bit better so that it's not as toxic and not as political and not as controversial or conspiratorial.
On social media for you guys, good, bad, what do you, well, mostly for you, what do you feel?
About social media?
Yeah, man.
I don't believe it is inherently evil, so I don't want to like misname it as like a necessary evil. I think it's a function and a byproduct of our evolution. Right? So like we're changing, especially like this last like decade, we've had this exponential growth is specifically in the technological and like the data space, right? And so with that comes so much greater a responsibility that I don't think we have like responded to and kind of met. So there's definitely like a space for growth and real like self-analysis to like use this amazing tool and vehicle like as a tool and as a vehicle. I think like my platform is a pretty authentic one. Like you'll see some poetic shit.
You're about as authentic as it gets on Instagram.
That's because like it's exhausting as is to just like be out here and to do like all the things. Like you're not gonna get this version of Alex and you get Alexander and you get A. Like nah. I'm Alex. Deal with it.
That authenticity is what people crave. And you mentioned earlier, like, I think at the very beginning, having concerns about things I've done in my past coming to light in the future, which it is scary when you think about it. I mean, I think we all have ambitions, and I myself, I may or may not get into politics in the future. I don't know. We'll see if that opportunity comes, but at the beginning, I was a little scared about things coming to light that maybe I did in college or, said in high school because I was a different person back then. But if that happens, and when it happens, I think that adds to the authenticity of myself. And I can say, I grew. Like, I'm not the same person. I'm here and I'm different. We changed. And then, I can say that confidently because I know that people are craving an authentic Jack versus a Jack that's just posting thirsty photos on Instagram. That Jack definitely exists. I mean, but that's also an authentic Jack.
So I think that we could all agree, good and bad, good and evil from social media. But overall, it is a tool, and it is how you yourself use it. And just honestly stand for something and utilize the people, the things that you have around you to do so, to make awareness of other people, bring them into your bubble. And
well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Baby, got me going crazy, and I love it. Hoes can't tell me nothing. Right around my baby, we starting looking like new money. We in control, I set the tone. My melanin is buzzing. Love is when you give me the feels. That's what love is. Always keep it real. That's what love is. Ain't playing no games. That's what love is.